The human ambassador stepped carefully into the enormous hall, feeling both awe and fear. The room was filled with creatures he had never seen before, each with shapes and colors that seemed impossible. Some had tall, elegant frames, while others moved on multiple limbs. Their eyes followed his every step, curious and sharp. The walls were high, glowing with strange lights that seemed alive. He could hear a low hum, like the building itself was breathing. At the center of it all sat the alien queen on a throne that sparkled like crystals in soft colors he could not name. She looked at him with eyes that seemed to see everything, and yet they held no anger, only quiet authority. The ambassador felt a strange mixture of fear and fascination. He had been trained for diplomacy, but nothing in his training could prepare him for this moment. He cleared his throat, ready to speak, but the sheer presence of the queen made words feel small and weak. The court around her was silent, each being waiting, watching. Even the attendants and guards did not move. It was as if time had slowed, and the world had narrowed down to just him and her. He tried to remember his purpose, the mission he had come for, and the careful words he had prepared. But the weight of all those watching eyes made his thoughts jumbled. Every small movement felt like it might be noticed and judged. He took a step forward, trying to appear confident, and bowed slightly. The queen did not speak or gesture, but he felt her attention as if it pressed lightly on his skin. Something about her gaze made him feel small, but also strangely safe. He realized that in this place, actions mattered more than words. The silence in the room was thick, yet it was not cold. It carried expectation, respect, and a hint of curiosity. He understood that everything here was being observed, measured, and remembered. The ambassador's heart raced, yet he took a steadying breath. He had entered this alien world as a stranger, unsure if he would be respected or dismissed. Now, standing in the center of the court, he felt the first stirring of courage. Something about the queen's presence told him that this encounter could change everything, not just for him, but for the humans and the aliens alike. As he prepared to speak, he knew that whatever happened next would set the tone for the story of their first meeting. He just did not know how extraordinary that story would become. The human ambassador had barely finished gathering his thoughts when the alien queen rose from her throne. Her movements were smooth and graceful, almost floating across the floor. The court seemed to hold its breath. Every alien, from the smallest attendant to the tallest guard, stopped what they were doing and watched. No one spoke. No one even shifted. The human felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, all focused on him, all waiting to see what would happen next. Without a word, the queen reached out and gently lifted him into her arms. He stiffened, surprised and unsure how to react. The room seemed to go completely silent, as if even the air had stopped moving. Some beings in the court looked shocked, some confused, and some were simply still, unable to process what they were witnessing. He had expected diplomacy, handshakes, maybe a formal exchange of words. He had not expected this. He was not sure if this was an honor, a challenge, or something else entirely. As he hung in her arms, he felt a strange mix of fear and calm. Her touch was firm yet gentle, like she could crush him if she wanted, but chose not to. He could see the colors of her skin shift slightly in the soft light, a display that seemed both beautiful and intimidating. He realized that he was completely vulnerable, yet for some reason he felt safe. Her gaze met his, and in that moment, he felt a connection stronger than any words could explain. He looked around at the court. Everyone was watching, but no one dared to intervene or speak. The silence was powerful, commanding, and filled with respect. It was as if the queen was saying that this moment belonged to them alone, that what she did was not to be questioned. He felt the significance of the gesture, though he did not fully understand it yet. The court's reaction, or lack of it, made him realize that the queen's power was absolute, but also carefully measured. She did not need words to communicate authority or intent. The ambassador's mind raced with questions, but his heart slowed. He knew he would remember this moment forever. He had crossed into a world far beyond human understanding, and the queen had chosen to make him a part of it. Even briefly, in a way that no one else would forget. He could feel that this moment would shape everything that came next, and that his role in this alien world was about to become far more important than he had ever imagined. The court remained silent, as if the Queen's action had frozen everyone in place. The human ambassador, still held in her arms, could feel the eyes of every being in the hall pressing on him. He had never experienced anything like it. It was a mixture of fear, awe, and disbelief. Some of the aliens whispered softly to one another, but no one dared to speak out loud. Even the guards, who were usually quick to react, stood completely still. The Queen's presence alone made it clear that questioning her was not an option. He looked up at her face, trying to read her expression. There was no anger, no impatience, just a calm and deliberate focus. It was as if she was measuring him, judging him, and deciding his place in her world without a single word. The human felt a strange respect growing inside him. He realized that this was not a moment for fear, but for understanding. He had crossed into a world where actions spoke louder than words, and her gesture carried meaning far beyond what he could immediately grasp. The beings in the court were shifting subtly, their postures adjusting to reflect deference. The energy in the room had changed. The whispers had died down, replaced by a quiet hum of attention and curiosity. No one dared to interrupt. He sensed that the Queen's gesture had commanded not just silence, but respect and admiration. Her strength was undeniable, but it was paired with a certain grace that made the human feel oddly protected. He tried to steady his thoughts. Each second felt stretched, important, like time had slowed so that every detail could be noticed. The colors on the walls shimmered faintly, and he could see the subtle movements of attendants and diplomats as they exchanged glances. They were all aware of the significance of this moment. The ambassador realized that this was not a mere formality or ritual. The Queen had made a statement with her actions, one that everyone in the court understood without explanation. For the first time, the human felt that he was part of something larger than himself. He had become a symbol, a connection between two worlds. The weight of that realization pressed on him, yet it was not uncomfortable. It was grounding. He knew that the story of this day would be remembered, not because of speeches or treaties, but because of the silent, powerful act of the alien queen holding him in her arms, in front of an entire court that dared not speak, yet understood everything perfectly. The human ambassador could feel the weight of the moment pressing on him. Yet as he looked into the alien queen's eyes, he began to understand more. This was not just a display of power. It was trust. By lifting him into her arms, she had made it clear that he was no longer just a visitor. He was someone important, someone she had chosen to protect, even in front of the entire court. The realization made his heart beat faster, not from fear, but from the significance of what had just happened. He slowly began to notice the reactions of the court. The whispers that had filled the room earlier had quieted completely. There was respect in their silence, a recognition that the Queen's action carried a meaning beyond words. He could see small gestures of acknowledgement, slight nods or subtle inclinations of heads. The humans and aliens alike understood that this was a rare moment, something that would be remembered for generations. It was a statement of connection and trust. The ambassador felt both honored and humbled. Being held by the Queen, he felt a strange sense of safety. Despite her size and power, her hold was gentle. She did not crush him or intimidate him with force. Instead, her grip was firm but measured, as if she wanted to show that she could dominate the room yet choose not to. He realized that in this gesture, she had communicated more than words ever could. Her authority was absolute, but it was guided by wisdom and careful thought. She had made him a part of something far greater than himself. He thought about the journey that had brought him here, the preparation and planning that had led to this encounter. Suddenly, it all felt small compared to the weight of the present moment. He was standing in the middle of a world unlike anything he had ever known, and the Queen had chosen him to be part of it in a meaningful way. That understanding filled him with a quiet courage, sense that he could face whatever came next. As the minutes passed, he felt a shift within himself. The initial fear and uncertainty had given way to a growing sense of purpose. The Queen's gesture was more than protection. It was a signal that his presence mattered. He realized that he could be a bridge between humans and aliens, and that his actions from this point on could influence not only his own fate, but the future of two civilizations. The thought was overwhelming, yet inspiring, and he embraced it fully, ready for whatever the queen and the court had in store. The alien queen gently set the human ambassador down, and the court slowly began to stir. The room was no longer tense with uncertainty, but filled with quiet reverence. He stood tall, feeling the lingering strength of the queen's presence in every corner of the hall. Every being in the room had witnessed something extraordinary, and he knew that this moment would be remembered for a very long time. The humans and aliens alike had seen an act that transcended fear, power, and distance between worlds. As he regained his composure, he realized how much the encounter had changed him. He had arrived as a stranger, unsure of his place among beings so different from him. Now, he understood that he was seen, respected, and trusted. The gesture of the queen had not only honored him, but also sent a clear message to the court. He was an ally. His words and actions carried weight. He felt a new confidence, quiet certainty that he could navigate this world and represent his own. The court gradually resumed its normal rhythm. But there was a noticeable shift. Subtle gestures of acknowledgement replaced the previous stares of curiosity and judgment. The advisors and attendants now watched him with a mix of respect and cautious interest. Guards relaxed slightly, yet they remained vigilant. Understanding that the queen's action had set the tone for how the human would be treated, he felt the invisible thread of responsibility stretching from the queen to himself. His mission was now more than diplomacy. It was about connection, trust, and bridging to civilizations. As he prepared to leave the hall, he glanced once more at the queen. Her expression was calm, but unmistakably powerful. No words were needed. The moment had spoken for itself. He realized that this encounter would guide every decision and interaction that followed. The humans and aliens now had a shared story, a memory of trust that could not be undone. It was a foundation for understanding, cooperation, and possibly friendship. Stepping out into the open corridors, he felt a mixture of awe and determination. He had seen the true measure of the alien queen's authority, but also her wisdom and choice to act with intent. The story of this day would stay with him forever, a reminder that respect, courage, and understanding could cross worlds. And as he walked forward, he knew that the future was uncertain, but now it was filled with possibility. Guided by the silent, yet profound act of the queen holding him in her arms before the entire court,